Welcome to Happy Wife, Happy Life. We're your hosts. I'm Kendahl Landreth.
And I'm Jordan Myrick.
And we are two incredibly unqualified,
but deeply in love comedians who are here to help you with all things relationships. And on today's episode, we're answering your Am I the Asshole scenarios. Kendahl.
Hello, Jordan.
How you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing well.
I'm really excited because I love reading Am I the Assholes.
They're so fun, and we love giving our opinions, so I think this is the perfect type of episode for us.
Yeah, we're two assholes.
No.
Yes, we can be assholes sometimes.
I feel the opposite. I think we're good at this because you and I both have such strong moral compasses.
I love that.
That I think we're really good at answering these.
Wow. Well, I also think you and I are good at differentiating between, this is just the segment of the podcast where we say what we're good about.
Yes.
We're really good about differentiating between what seems like asshole behavior and what is actual asshole behavior.
Yes.
You know, we lived in New York a long time.
Ain't that the
We're
truth?
New Yorkers. We know what a nice person is.
I think you and I are assholes to each other, but I think at large, we are not assholes.
Yeah, I agree.
All right, let's get right into it, because y'all sent in so many.
I know. Usually we would talk about our week here, but there's so many Am I the Assholes?
Well,
I'm starting to wonder if our demographic is problematic.
Yeah. What's wrong with you guys? Okay, this person wants to know, am I the asshole for not wanting my partner to be following half-naked sexual/OnlyFans accounts? Or how do I just stop caring?
It's really funny to think that you're an asshole for that. Like, why would you take that from him?
My boyfriend being goo-goo gaga over porn models on the internet? No.
Unless your boyfriend is like a really pro sex worker, like advocate. Where he's like, no, these are my friends. Like, I've worked with them. But like that would be a different situation. But if he just follows so many people who post photos in bikinis, I don't know. You know what's hard, though? In lesbian world, that is not, well, maybe it is. But from my experience, that's not much of a conversation. Because it is hard where it's like, well, you will have friends who post bikini photos and you like it. And you don't really think about it.
But it's different. I think because neither one of us does this type of thing, I think there are a lot of lesbian thirst trap accounts. I just think
that's
we're not
true.
following them. Because this is my thing. Whether you're single or not, why are you so, once again, I hate to use the turn of phrase, but goo gaga for like sex on the internet? I don't know. To me, it kind of makes me be like, relax. Like, what are you, a loser? And I agree with Kendahl. I'm like, if you are an avid believer and supporter, and not just supporter by looking, I'm talking supporter by paying money.
Yeah, she's like, my boyfriend says he's a big supporter.
Well, but I'm just like, if you're like, oh, well, I support these like women making their own money.
Yeah.
I don't want to see you just following them on Instagram. I want you to be the highest tier of their OnlyFans account.
Oh, wow.
Because then I really believe you. I say, wow, you really do believe in support. You are paying this woman who is her actor. She's her own director. She's her makeup artist. She's her own cinematographer. She's her own sound guy. You're giving her $50 a month. I'm honestly fine with that. But just to look at pictures, I'm also
honey,
like,
the top tier is not $50.
well, I don't know. It depends on the person. I don't know. I don't follow a ton of OnlyFans accounts, so I know how much some of them cost. Some of them are affordable. Some of them are like $7.99 a month.
Wow. I think in my head I was like, top tier is $1 million.
That's absolutely wild.
I don't know.
That's absolutely
That's what I don't know. I feel
That's
like
what you would charge $1 million?
$1 million.
Okay, well, you wouldn't have any followers. So sorry to tell you that.
No.
I would not be following you.
You would have to.
$1 million?
Support me.
Absolutely. I already
$1 million.
support you. Emotionally and financially. I'm just like, why are you obsessed with looking at pictures of women in bikinis?
Yeah.
That's such just absolute freak behavior.
Well,
I'm like, what are you, like 14?
Yes, that's what I was going to say. It feels so 14-year-old, like hiding a Playboy magazine under his pillow.
Dirty rag, as they say.
Yes. Because it feels like there's so much access to this, like, that you could get on the internet. Why are you following this woman who's like posing in a bikini? I'm like, well, you could get that on like an Aerie website.
At this point, you're seeing photos of women in bikinis on the side of a bus. Like, what is this thing? So I think you're not an asshole at all. I think your boyfriend is kind of immature, and I would maybe think about moving on.
Do you know, I agree with you. Do you know the one lesbian thirst trap account I always almost follow?
What?
My manager, Kyle, sends it to me all the time. It's this woman. I don't know if it's real or not. I genuinely don't know if it's real or not.
I do know this woman.
And she's like mask lesbian, but like beat to the gods at the same time.
Absolutely. And she's Southern.
And she's always like, She's like, where my girls who need a milkshake at midnight and are scrolling on their phone and want to be the little spoon.
A lot of this. A lot of wiping her mouth. Lots of, what happened to ladies wanting to be
Is that your Southern accent?
hiked out? I don't know. Because she's not just doing a Southern accent. She's doing like a weird affectation. She's also kind of whispering.
You're right.
It's like she's not Southern like how my family is Southern. She's doing like a different thing. And she poses next to her truck. She's a whole thing. And
Where my
honestly,
ladies who want to be a passenger princess
Yeah.
and get a fun little drink on the ride home.
And Kendahl, you called me out, so I'm calling you out. That's also not what she sounds like. That's not a good Southern accent either. All right, on to the next.
I'm sorry.
On to the next. Stop laughing. No.
Can we please keep that in?
Fine.
On to the X. You said it so slowly,
when I
too.
say anything wrong. It's
On
so
to
evil.
the X. You know, I have a list on my
And
phone.
yes, she is. What?
I'm so sorry. I have a list on my phone of words you've misspoken. Did you know that?
Is that true?
It makes me laugh. Like, there's just like 2 of them. But they make you want me to read 2 of them? I only have like 2 of them.
This is literally the only secret she's ever kept.
Because I think I've been like, I gotta bring it up.
And let me guess what one of them is. Guess what one of them is. Seduction. Because the other day I was trying to explain something and we were having a serious conversation about something and I was trying to explain seduction and I called it very confidently seduction. And then a couple minutes later I said it wrong again. And it was funny, but it was embarrassing.
It was so, but then it became scary. You got like emotional because you were like, I cannot remember how to say it.
Well, it felt scary because I kept saying seduction and nothing about that sounded wrong to me.
Look, Jordan misspeaks.
Show the camera that.
Sorry.
This is evil.
I should have waited it until it was like, I should have waited. This is my problem. I can never keep a secret long enough. I should have waited until it was like 8 million long.
But you know what? I can't even feel that embarrassed because I guarantee you, there's probably 6 or 7 misspelled words on that. True or false?
True.
What are they?
Okay, no, there's no misspelled. There's like 2 sentences.
What?
And also I have autocorrect.
Are the words?
So seduction is one of the 2.
I know it.
God, I can't believe I didn't wait till there were more.
Never live down seduction.
I said seduction instead of seduction. I did spell seduction wrong.
Okay.
I spelled it Siduction.
And she's coming for me? I don't think so.
And then I only have one other, which I guess since you were trying to say, I don't know if there's still tickets. you said, I don't know if there's still tickles.
It's not funny at all. And that's the most upsetting part.
I don't know if there's still tickles. Why it's funny, too, specifically when Jordan does it, because, you know, Jordan is so, like, you talk very sure of yourself. So it's always, well, I don't know if there's still tickles.
You're so rude.
I'm going to keep that list going.
Kendahl has literally never once in the history of our relationship and probably her life kept a secret. I can't believe you have that without me knowing it. That's so funny. I'm honestly proud of you.
Thank you. I could only keep it for like 2 minutes.
Good for you.
I did for like a couple weeks. I was like, I'm going to start writing these down so I can say them on the podcast.
Wow. That's wild. All right. Let's move on to the next one. Am I the asshole for telling my ex that he needs therapy if he wants to keep dating me?
No.
This says me, he, him. So I'm assuming this is 2 men.
Okay, yeah. No, I don't think that. I mean, and
I think it's gender irrelevant. It doesn't matter. You're not an asshole for telling someone they need to go to therapy.
yeah, unless like it's a really inconvenient time and he's like really struggling financially and you're like, if you don't go to therapy this month, it's done. But even then, there's so many options for therapy. There's fewer good options for there are some bad affordable options for therapy, but I feel like you could find something if it was really important to you.
Sure.
But I think be a little bit patient. I think it's always good to like have that conversation and then wait a little bit to see if that person kind of what is the word when you take initiative? Seduction. If you take just make sure they take seduction. No, if they take initiative, and if they don't, I think have a second follow-up conversation that's like, it's really hurt me that you didn't take initiative with this. You're still laughing about seduction over there.
I just can't believe you had that. I can't believe you had that list.
Man, it's so funny. Seduction is such a funny word for some reason to me.
Listen, it's not wrong for wanting to date someone who's working on themselves. And if they're not working on themselves, that is what it is and you're not a right fit. I'm always like, it's not cruel to realize that you and someone else are not a good match for each other. So if you are in a place where you've really done a lot of work on yourself and they haven't done a lot of work on themselves, that doesn't mean that they're a bad person, but you might just not be in the same place, which means it's hard to date.
Yeah, exactly.
So I don't think you're an asshole.
I agree.
This is a big one. Am I the asshole for coming out as a lesbian to my husband of 9 years and then just staying with him to be with our kids full time?
Oh my God. Jesus Christ.
I think you're not an asshole, but it's a sad situation.
Man,
What's wrong with lesbians? Why? When straight people do these kind of podcast episodes, it's fun. When lesbians do them, it's so sad. It's so sad. Listen, you're not an asshole. It's a bad situation.
Well, but okay.
Open up your relationship and keep living at home. That's what I say.
I personally am like, what a fruitful relationship this is, first of all, because to me, coming out to your husband famously is like a classic, maybe top 10 hardest things to do.
Like, some would call it a deal breaker.
Well, yes, but even just like not worried that he's going to leave you. I don't even know what I'm even saying, but I think it's just such a stressful scenario to be like 10 years into a marriage to a man, you have kids, and then you realize, oh my God, I'm a lesbian. I've made a grave mistake. I love my husband, but what do? I think it's so hard. So the fact that you did still do that hardest thing and come out to him, and then we're like, no, but we don't need to change anything, is to me speaks to how open your relationship probably is with your husband.
Okay.
So with that in mind, and I might be completely missing the mark, but with that in mind, I'm like, I do think you guys could co-parent in a really nice way.
Just open up your marriage. Keep living together. Both of you open up your marriage. You both get to date other hotties, and then it's fine.
I also would say a word of advice to a mother, as someone who's not a mother.
What in the world could your advice be on this? I'm so excited to hear it.
I just think even if it's hard in the moment, your kids will never want you to be unhappy for them. It always feels like absolute shit for them later. It sucks to look back on your life and be like, I fucked up my parents' life. I would be so much happier being like, well, then my mom realized she was a lesbian and went on a sapphic bender for like 2 years and was going on all these gay sex cruises. I'd be like, that's awesome. I'm not saying that's what your plan is, but I just think that I would much rather prefer that than being like, well, my mom realized she wasn't happy and then she just kind of lived in that until I went to college.
Absolutely. Devastating to think about.
Yeah. So even if your kids in the moment are like, this sucks, my mom's gay. Oh, it's like, I think they'll be happier later.
I agree. Am I the asshole for wanting to leave the batch party group chat for a trip that ended on Sunday, but is still popping off like dozens of texts per day, despite the fact that the bachelor party is over?
I think group chats should be illegal.
Sure.
I really do.
Sure.
My therapist the other day told me, Kendahl, I want you to start writing down in a book moments that you feel so overwhelmed that you feel absolute paralysis or inability to do anything. And the first thing I wrote on the list was when I receive a message that's in any group chat, I feel physically unable to do work for the rest of the day. I feel like I should just give up and I want to throw my phone into the ocean.
Sure.
So no, I don't think that makes you an asshole.
I think leave it. Who cares? Why do you know these people? My read on it is that you don't even really know these people.
Right.
So it doesn't matter. What's going to happen is you're going to leave the group chat. Everyone's going to go, oh, I guess Deborah's done. I guess Deborah's had enough of us. And then everyone will make like one singular joke about you. Mm-hmm. And then it'll be over and no one will ever think about it again.
Yeah.
Let them make the joke. You know? Who cares?
Yep.
Okay, this is a long one. Am I the asshole for telling my sister that she might want to get checked out since I struggled with my infertility and 5 failed IVF rounds? My body was just not making babies, and I really sweetly mentioned to her that it would be a good idea if she got her levels checked. Her fiance got really mad at me and said I was putting unnecessary stress on her, and now she's worried about her fertility. I was just coming from a place of love and care for my sister, and he was so mad at me. He said it was an asshole move.
Uh-oh. I don't think that's an asshole move.
I don't think you're an asshole at all. I think I think it depends on how you did it. I think if you're like, hey, I had a real hard time getting pregnant. When y'all are trying to get pregnant, you might want to get your levels checked because they said it could be hereditary. So just mentioning that, let me know if you need anything because I've been through it. Not an asshole at all.
Yeah.
If you're like, Shannon, you need to go get your levels checked now because I had this thing happen and me and it's like, yeah, then that's annoying.
Yeah, I agree. Also, just because something you said gave someone anxiety doesn't mean it was bad. Like, there's a lot of times that, like, I'll say something and then someone will be like, oh, you really should get that checked out because, like, my aunt had that and it was cancer or something. And then I'm like, oh, my God, I feel like I could throw up. I'm so anxious about that. Doesn't mean that was, like, bad to tell me. Unless it was, like, right before I went on stage for my graduation or something.
Yeah, know the time and the place. But I'll also say that my dad, growing up and still to this day, I'm an adult, my dad would always and will always say, watch for bikes when you leave the house to remind you to not hit a biker because in Southern California, bikers are so prolific and in the street and everywhere. And I've never hit a biker. I think it's like a nice little reminder. And I think if my dad said, watch for bikes, and I went, that makes me so anxious that I'm going to hit a bike. It's like, maybe I need to talk to a therapist about that.
God, you're so your father's daughter.
Why?
Because guess what conversation we had in the car yesterday?
Well, I told you to watch for bikes. But tell the people how you change lanes. Tell the people how you change lanes.
You know what? That's I don't. There could be a policeman watching this interview.
Yeah, John, if you're a cop, you legally have to tell us.
No, the way you said it, you said, and you need to, actually, the way you did it yesterday was very normal. In the past, you have been like, and just remember to watch for bikes because I do think it could be like a split decision thing. This is like right before you leave for work. Just watch for bikes because just remember, like, if you do hit someone, even if it's an accident, like, that's manslaughter and, like, you might end up in jail and then we'll never see each other again. All right, bye, Kendahl.
How many bikes have you hit?
0.
And how many bikes have I hit?
0, knock on wood.
Right? So sound advice.
Exactly
I'm just saying, if someone gives you sound advice and it freaks you out, that also might be on you a little bit to figure out. Like, I think there's a balance. Like, people should be able to say things without upsetting you to such an intense degree if it's not an upsetting thing. Like, if you very calmly mentioned a hereditary family thing to your sister, once again, like Kendahl was saying, it might be stressful, but it's like, yes, sometimes being alive is stressful.
Sometimes being alive is literally a prison.
Yeah, but do you know what I mean? Also, I'm like, what's the deal with her husband?
Well, I was just going to say,
Who's
let's
he?
check back in with this husband or fiance, whoever it was, when he finds out how expensive IVF is.
Yeah.
Because I think he's going to be asking for some tests as well.
Yeah.
Because that's what I'll tell you is I'm like, absolutely not. I would not do IVF because I'm sure I got some stuff going on.
Yeah.
And I'm doing one try.
Well, I'm telling you what, this person that wrote this question, 5 rounds of IVF. What are you, a billionaire?
Yeah, I'm going to reach back out to this person.
Yeah. Who wrote this in? Jeff Bezos' ex-wife?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, Jeff Bezos' ex-wife is trying
She's a listener.
Yeah, she loves this podcast.
She loves this podcast. Am I the asshole for charging people on Venmo instead of just waiting for them to charge me?
No. I mean, we've talked about this before, but it's, I think you need to know if you're being annoying or not.
Sure.
If you're charging anyone for like tit for tat stuff, I think so. But I think sometimes the most organized people are requesting the Venmo, and I appreciate it so much.
You say, thank you, I didn't even have to think about it.
Yeah, that to me is like labor. Like, you sending a Venmo request is so much labor. When I go out to dinner and someone Venmo requests me, I'm like, that's insane. You went through the receipt and literally looked up every single person's money, a thing that, I mean, I probably would have, to be honest, just never Venmo'd you, which is like really bad. But I'm so forgetful, so that is so appreciated. One thing I can check off my list that you just did for me.
I agree. I think it can actually be very generous. This is a long one.
Here we go.
Am I the asshole for not wanting my friend's husband to be at every single hangout? I have a group of friends we regularly hang out with.
But what am I going to say? The wife's there.
Kendahl's right. I was going to bring that up later once the question was done, but Kendahl ultimately is right at this time. The group consists of 3 couples, including us.
Wait.
So that's why you wait for the whole question, Kendahl. We're going to have to do some Am I the Assholes from Kendahl later.
I think this is the first time in my life I've been like, wait, these gay people are being really mean to the straight person.
Okay. Should I start it over?
Sorry. No, I'm sorry. People can come. I feel
No,
like
I love it. I'm just making sure we're tracking the information. The group consists of 3 couples, including us. The 6 of us usually get dinner or all make dinner and hang out once a week.
okay.
Once a
It's
week?
cult.
Whoa, you guys are practically all married to each other. While the 2 other girls in our friend group are queer, they are both in relationships with men. My wife and I are the only queer couple. Sometimes we plan girls' days where the 4 of us hang out and do things that the guys typically don't like. Thrifting, crafting, etc. One of the guys is 100% fine with this and does his own thing. My friend's husband always makes a big deal about being sad and left out. And here's the thing. He doesn't want to participate in the activities and will complain while he's there. Or will sit in the corner on his phone the whole night. He is also always in a bad mood, very negative, and acts like he doesn't like us.
All right, you won me back.
I have a controversial take, though.
Uh-oh.
I think this is asshole on asshole crime.
Asshole and asshole. It's complete anal crime.
I think this is full circle anal. I think that you are being an asshole for being like, girls' night, my spouse gets to be there, but yours don't. I understand. And maybe that's what everyone wants. Like, who am I to tell you and your friend group what to do other than a podcast host whose opinion you asked? But I think there is something inherently a little bit, I hate to use the word privileged, but I think that, like, I try to be mindful of this in that there are some times where not everyone wants to be around a couple. And I think the idea of girls' night being 2 singles and a couple doesn't always feel good. So I'm curious to know. I think maybe there's a reframing of them. Maybe it's like, hey, on this night, we're going to do thrifting. Whoever wants to come thrifting should come. And if you don't like thrifting, don't come. But I do think it's a little unfair for you to be like, my spouse gets to be there because she's a girl, but the other spouses are boys. Like, I think that is a little inconsiderate.
Yeah, right. I think it's hard in adult relationships, and I don't know what's right or wrong, but I think, so that's incredible for me to be giving advice, but I feel like sometimes in adult relationships, your friend starts dating someone, and that is just a person who's around now. And sometimes you don't love them. And once again, it's different if you're like, I hate them. They're so bad. But, there's people where you're like, oh, that's their boyfriend and they're now always here. And it's hard because they hang out once a week, which to me is kind of a lot.
That's a lot. But lesbian couples can be like that too. And I think this is the thing that's hard, is that I think you're like, oh, girls' night or whatever. But I think it's hard because there are things that get lumped. I think sometimes it's like girls' night, but like that includes non-binary people or whatever. And then it's kind of like, oh, that to me, I think could be a little weird of like, well, if you're so focused on it being a girls' night, but it's not really a girls' night. It's just like, you don't want this one specific person there.
It feels very pointed.
I think that can feel very pointed.
Yeah.
At which point I'm like, I think you have to have just a conversation with your friend and or her husband about his behavior or what you don't like about him or whatever. But I think there is truth to the fact that like, it doesn't really matter that Kendahl is a girl and I'm also allegedly a girl as well.
We've read.
Yeah, we've heard. People have told me on the internet that I'm a girl. And so I think that it's hard because it's like there's still a dynamic to couples. So I think it's inconsiderate that you're being like, we get to have our couple dynamic, but the 2 of you have to be alone.
Yeah.
And maybe your friends love it and have no problem with it, and then there isn't an issue with it. But I think that does feel a little selfish. And I also think it's selfish, though, that he wants to come but not do the thing.
Well, and I think, yes, I was going to say, and I do think the probably bigger problem is this, like, I guilt my girlfriend every single time she wants to do something without me, which is, like, an actually really bad problem.
Sure.
So I think it's, like, that is really hard. But I also have had friends who I adore who start dating someone who's a total piece of shit. And then like me and that friend eventually kind of have to like take some time apart until they break up. Not because I'm like, I'm not going to talk to you again until you break up with your boyfriend. But it's just like, yeah, I don't want to spend time with him. And then you are always with him. And then when we try to hang out together, you end up canceling because your boyfriend gets upset. And like, that's a really bad situation. And then so we slowly kind of like drift apart. And that might be a really unfortunate thing if he really like guilts her every single time she needs to. Because I don't think that would be something that like our friends would have to do. They wouldn't have to be like, no blondes night.
Yeah. Yeah.
They would just be like, Jordan, do you want to hang out?
Yes, 100%. That being said, once again, as we say often though, it's not your business. If she's dating someone who always guilts her when she wants to do stuff without him, that's kind of on her to handle that. And if she doesn't want to handle that, and if that doesn't make her want to break up with him or talk to him about his behavior, I do think that's a little bit of a reflection of your friend. Why does she not care that he comes in? But also, hey, I don't know any of you. One of you is a listener of this podcast, and for that, I love you, and you wrote in, and I appreciate that. So I'm not trying to come for you so hard. But I also think there's a world in which, being an unbiased party, think that maybe he's not being as dowdy and pouty and annoying as you feel like he's being. Maybe he is. But if your friend isn't having a problem with her partner, husband, boyfriend, whatever, doing this, and you're having a problem with it, I think maybe there could be some looking inward. If he wants to sit in the corner on his phone, why does that bother you?
Yeah.
I understand.
Honestly, if you don't like him, that's ideal.
Yes. And I understand the initial impulse to be like, that's annoying.
Yeah.
But if you really sit and think about it, who cares? And clearly she wants him there, or doesn't have a problem with him being there,
right,
or doesn't have a problem with him. You know what I mean? It's like that. I think that has to be between you and your friend. And I think you might have to have a conversation with her and be like, hey, sometimes I wish we could just have, nights without him, because it seems like he doesn't want to do the stuff that we're doing. Instead of being like, it's girls' night, why does a boy have to come?
Yeah.
Because, hey, maybe you're hurting his feelings. And I think sometimes I think that maybe is a compassionate way to look at it as well. He's hopefully not trying to be bad or manipulative, but maybe he just genuinely likes you and like wants to hang out with you guys and feels hurt for being uninvited. So maybe if you care about him at all, if you care about your friend, their relationship, whatever, maybe you want to do a thoughtful reframing of being like, hey, why does he always want to come? It feels like he doesn't want to do the stuff that we're doing. Get an answer to that. If the answer is, oh, he just wants to spend time with us, great. Maybe there's times that we can do stuff that we all like doing, and maybe there's times we can do stuff that just the people who like doing the stuff can do it.
Yeah.
Worst case scenario, you might have to stop hanging out with these people so much.
Yeah.
Or being friends with this person.
Or maybe switch it to once a month. Not every single
That's Kendall's. Kendall says maybe hang out once a year.
That's how I do it.
Kendall loves to hang out just kind of once a year.
Well, I'm hanging out with myself all the time.
That's so true, which is exhausting. Okay, there's a part 2 to this question that I didn't even see at first, so I'm sorry. Maybe this will add more context.
Okay.
If the hangouts didn't include him often, I would understand. But we have a girls' day maybe once a month, sometimes once every 2 months. Am I the asshole for being annoyed that a man that is rude to me and my wife has to be included all the time? I realize that I may be biased because I don't like being around men, but his attitude and negativity completely kills the vibe. Okay, I still think I feel the same way.
I feel the same.
You have to figure out if he's being rude to you or if you just find him annoying.
Well, but we have to go off this question, which is they're saying that he is rude. So that's all we really have to go off.
But then they said, I realize I may be biased because I don't like being around men.
Well,
because his attitude and negativity, I'm like, is he being negative to you? Is he being negative about you? Like, it's one thing if your friend has a husband that's like really homophobic and you're like, I don't want to be around him. Stop being friends with that person. Your friend shouldn't have a homophobic husband if you're gay. That being said, if he's just kind of a Debbie Downer and you find him irritating, it's kind of like, well, you're not dating him. So you either kind of have to suck it up because you want to be around your friend, or you have to be like, he bothers me so much that I don't want to be friends with that person anymore. You're absolutely trying not to smirk at me. What are you laughing at?
I can't tell you.
What is it?
I can't tell you.
You have to tell me.
I'm thinking about Tickle.
I hate you. Literally, I hate you.
I started thinking about Tickle while you were talking to that. I couldn't stop laughing.
This is disgusting. This is a very funny one.
What?
Am I the asshole for throwing away my wife's celery after she cut it up because I thought it was too big for the soup I was making? What are you, Larry David, and Curb Your Enthusiasm? Cut up the celery smaller. I guess to me, you're not a wife to your asshole. Wait. No! She's gonna write it. She's gonna write it down. Oh, I'm gonna pretend like it didn't happen.
You're asshole.
I go, you didn't have it. I'm going to take it back.
Where's your wife? She's an asshole.
No, I'm taking it back. I don't think that you are an asshole to your wife because the celery she cut up was too big for your soup, so you threw it away. I think you're an asshole to the celery. Celery can be cut smaller after it's cut. Like, what?
That's not an asshole. That's a idiot.
Yeah, sorry. Oh, this one's where I am at the idiot segment. No, I'm just like, what do you mean you threw it away?
It's so funny to have someone, like, imagine if you were like, hey, can you get me some carrots for the soup I was making? And then I got you them and you just tossed them. We're like, I thought they looked a little dirty.
They're too big. Yeah. What's even funnier about this is a lesbian couple. This feels like a straight man and straight woman situation. This is a lesbian couple. What's going on? You threw it away?
I think this person is lying because I'm telling you, this sounds like something I would do where you prepped celery and then it was like went by a week and then I was uncomfortable eating it. So I wanted it out of my fridge because I was like, that's gross and it's old celery. But you were like, no, it's perfect for soup. And then I threw it away and was like, I thought it was too big. I just am like, there's no way someone actually threw away celery because they thought it was too big. That is crazy.
But why is this person lying to us? I understand lying to their spouse. Why are you writing into this podcast and telling us a lie?
There is no way. That is one of the craziest things I've ever heard in my entire life.
I threw away my wife's celery after she cut it too big for the soup I was making. ... That's what it says.
This person is moved out. This person
need
is
to
so
write
bad.
in and tell us more about what's going on.
I think that's all we need to know. That is so...
No, right now Kendahl and I are mad at you. Why would you do that? What's going on?
That is so
Why didn't you cut the celery up more? What's happening? Something nefarious is going on that's not included in this, and I need you to write back in after you watch this episode.
This question, I don't mean to be dramatic, kind of like creeps me out a lot, actually. For some reason, I'm worried like a news story is going to come out after this, where someone's like, this person was like killed a bunch of people. They were like a sociopath.
This person murdered their wife, and then a bunch of big pieces of celery were found in their trash can.
It just seems really like something's a little off.
Something's afoot.
Yeah. That's really funny.
Something's going on with you, and I need you to tell us more. Am I the asshole for telling my 3-year-old mommy needs 5 minutes alone and then going in the bathroom and doom scrolling for 30 minutes?
That's insane. That means that if I was a mom, I would be actually maybe the meanest mom ever. Yeah. That feels like incredibly normal. Yeah. I would be like, get the fuck away from me.
Sure, and that's
if I was a mom.
That's why you're not a mom.
Exactly. That's why I'm not having kids. That feels like so normal and nice.
John, you have 2 daughters?
I have 2 girls.
And do you think this is an asshole move?
No. This is, I would say it's pretty routine.
Yeah.
You're saying this is a survival tactic.
Exactly, yeah.
100%.
Yes,
you have to do this.
That's what you've got, because then you can show up a better person. So I've heard. They say this on Queer Eye, I guess, so I've heard. If you take care of yourself, then you can show up better. Nobody wants to be around a mom who's like 2 seconds away from having a mental breakdown.
Sure.
That is so normal. Also, it makes me just want to be like, you also could do a lot more than that and be not an asshole.
Yeah.
Like, go like out to dinner.
Yeah. Someone's like, am I an asshole? I made myself a bowl of pasta for dinner instead of just eating the scraps my kids left behind. Am I neglecting them? Should I call CPS on myself?
No. Also, like, I think kids need to be told once again. I am like I don't know anything about kids, so take this with less than a grain of salt.
We have 2 nephews and we're really good aunts.
Well, but I'm not a parent though, and I know I should not even be speaking on this, but I'm like, I think kids need to know not everything is about them. Like, you have emotions outside of them. You have stuff outside of them. Even if you're pretending. I think so much of parenting, once again, I've never done it, but to me, so much of parenting is like simulating. Even if like your life is your kid, you need to like go pretend that you're doing something else to be like, mom's having her me time that doesn't involve you, because you are not not everything revolves around you. This is me time. And then you can go in and like scroll and look at photos of them on your phone because everything is about them, but you need to at least pretend to teach them so they're not so annoying.
Well, not even just teaching them so they're not annoying, teaching them that it's okay to have me time for themselves.
Yeah.
And I think maybe that's the way to frame it. Whoa, parenting hack.
We're changing the podcast.
Good parent alert.
Good parent alert is the name of our new podcast.
Good parent alert. 2 women that have never had kids. I'm like, what if you say, hey, I'm going to have me time for 15 minutes and you're going to have you time for 15 minutes. And that means that I'm going to go in my room and do whatever I want. Yeah. And you're going to go in your room and do whatever you want. And the one rule is that we're not allowed in either room to play with scissors or whatever like whatever rules you need to put in place to keep your household okay. But I think that's nice too, because then that's saying like, hey, there's nothing wrong with taking time for yourself, no matter who you are. And I think as we get older and more, the workforce gets crazier and crazier. We're getting political now. It's, but you know what I mean? Like, we're expected to work all the time. And I think a lot of people feel guilty taking time to themselves, taking vacation, doing hobbies they like. Yeah. I think showing your kids at a young age that there is absolutely nothing wrong with taking a little time to yourself is beautiful.
I agree. That my mom used to read me this book when I was growing up. I don't remember a lot of it, but I remember there was an elephant in the tub and she was just trying to take a bath, and her elephant babies were always like, Mom. And she'd be like, let me have 5 minutes of peace. So that is like a really good book, I think.
And that must have really affected Kendahl deeply, because Kendahl takes a bath every day.
I do take a bath every day.
A full bath every day. Like she's some kind of Marie Antoinette ass bitch. A bath every day.
And they're not just baths. They've got candles. They have salts. They have a Lush bath bomb. And sometimes I take 2. I will say it. I've used 3 bath bombs in one day before. I had COVID, so don't come for me.
Yeah, she had COVID. That was part of her medical treatment. You guys watch The Pit or not? All right. Well, thank you so much for writing all your Am I the Assholes in. These are one of our favorite segments to do. So feel free to send them in whenever you feel like it. Kendahl, why don't you tell them where they can send their questions or their Am I the Asshole scenarios?
I will tell you right now, if you're wanting to send us a long-ass question, you've got a bunch of details that you need to fit in there, email us at hwhlpodquestions@gmail.com. And do you want to know what I'm doing right now? I'm trying to desperately think of a way I can work in the word tickle, and I can't do it, but I just want to mention that. Your tickle to ask us a question would be to follow us on Instagram at HWHL Podcast, period. That's the end of it. And if you want to follow us, we'll get there. If you want to follow us on anywhere you get your podcast, that's super helpful to us, and we appreciate it. What are you smiling at over there? You're just so happy to be done with me. You're so happy for us to go to our separate ways.
I'm excited to think about the dinner I'm going to make you buy me after this.
Thank you all so much for being here. We really do love and appreciate you. And if you wrote in, even if we called you an asshole, at the end of the day, you're not an asshole because you listen to this podcast.
And we love you.
We love you. And thank you so much. Bye.
Drop in the comments if you think Kendahl was an asshole this episode. Bye.